powerful businesswoman worth hundreds of millions with a happy family of 3 is the envy of everyone. In reality, the people closest to her are brewing a terrible conspiracy to take away her happiness. After being pushed into the river by a mysterious man, Jae-won suffered minor injuries and needs to stay in the hospital for a while to recuperate. Her husband keeps watch at her bedside, appearing affectionate, but only Jae-won knows that beneath his kind mask lies a hidden true face. As a leader in the smart home furniture industry, Jae-won's recent incident has caused a media frenzy. The company's board chairman has to step in to suppress the negative news. Since the incident occurred late at night, the only witness was an elderly man fishing by the river. Although he saw Jae-won fall into the water, he couldn't see the attacker's face clearly. Finding the truth won't be easy. While Jae-won is still recuperating in the hospital, her husband is camping outdoors with her best friend. Strangely, her husband isn't wearing his usual glasses or casual clothes. When together with the best friend, he frequently shows a knowing expression. After receiving a text message, he hurries to a secluded spot to send a mysterious person the photo he just took with the best friend. Unable to find the real culprit, Jae-won doesn't want to wait any longer. She can't stop worrying about work and insists on being discharged to return to the workplace. When Jae-won returns home and sees her husband, she feels nauseated. Even being touched by him triggers a strong reaction. Besides her cheating husband, Jae-won must also face the dangerous director Yoon and her best friend who's having an affair with her husband. Her mood grows heavier and heavier. Her stepfather brings Jae-won carefully prepared stew. Thinking that her stepfather might have used this same method to murder her mother, Jae-won doesn't hesitate. She pours out the stew and throws the thermos into the trash. Director Yoon notices that Jae-won has been deliberately keeping her distance from him these past few days and wants to know if there's been some misunderstanding between them. Not wanting to alert him, Jae-won vaguely responds that she's been feeling confused lately and needs some time to think things through. After handling company affairs, Jae-won makes time to meet with the insurance agent. Seeing Jae-won's attitude change so dramatically, he can't help but wonder what she's experienced. Jae-won ignores the insurance agent's curiosity and gets straight to the point. Earlier, she used her connections to investigate the insurance agent and learned he's a former detective who voluntarily resigned after being investigated for suspected bribery. Since he's someone who values money, Jae-won hopes the insurance agent can use his detective skills to thoroughly investigate her mother's true cause of death. She's willing to pay generously. Neither of them realizes that someone has secretly photographed their meeting. That night, Jae-won returns home and learns from the housekeeper that her husband hasn't come back yet. Her first thought is that her husband might be with her best friend, so she calls her secretary and learns that the best friend is still at the company. Only then does she dismiss her doubts. Soon after, her husband returns home, falsely claiming he just came from the gym with words full of concern for Jae-won. Jae-won stares at this hypocritical man and angrily throws down her cup, demanding to know why he's lying when he hasn't been to the gym in a long time. Her husband explains that he recently switched to a new gym opened by an old classmate located in the same building as the old gym. The recipient of that text message was also his old classmate. Since he's not yet proficient with the smartwatch, he accidentally deleted the message. The explanation sounds reasonable enough. Jae-won suddenly remembers that day outside the gym when she saw her husband and best friend being intimate. At the time, her husband wasn't wearing glasses but was dressed formally, displaying a completely different aura than usual. Jae-won recalls that her husband has a twin brother. For some reason, Jae-won doesn't expose her husband and best friend's affair, but wearily accepts her husband's embrace. After dealing with family matters, Jae-won has her secretary investigate Director Yoon's information. He only returned from America 4 years ago, but the stalking incidents began 7 years ago. And on the night Jae-won was attacked, Director Yoon was enjoying himself at a nightclub with colleagues who can testify. From this perspective, Director Yoon seems unlikely to be the stalker. Many days pass and Jae-won still hasn't found evidence that those around her want to harm her. Facing her now chaotic life, Jae-won is irritable and her head begins to ache again. She can't understand why she's encountering so many troubles. The next day, Jae-won, who could only fall asleep by taking headache medicine, is awakened by her secretary's call. She rushes to the company only to discover that the meeting she was supposed to chair has already been taken over by Director Yoon. While Director Yoon is in the meeting, Jae-won has someone investigate the vehicle that contained the stalker's clothing. She discovers the car is registered under the design team's name, and team members take turns using it. This means everyone on the design team is actually a suspect. Jae-won realizes she may have wrongly suspected Director Yoon. Her heart fills with guilt, and after much deliberation, she drops her guard against him and explains the reason for her recent suspicions. Director Yoon protests his innocence. On the night of the company incident, he was having dinner with colleagues, with photos as proof. Knowing she wrongly suspected Director Yoon, Jae-won sincerely apologizes. Director Yoon doesn't want to hold it against Jae-won, but requires her to cancel her afternoon work schedule. He then takes her to his studio. Besides being a designer, Director Yoon is also a painter. Recently, he's been busy making canvas frames. Knowing Jae-won is feeling anxious, he specifically asks her to help make canvas frames to relieve her worries. The two work busily all afternoon, and Jae-won's mood indeed improves considerably. Just as Jae-won has eliminated her suspicions of Director Yoon, the insurance agent suddenly sends a message. 4 years ago wasn't Director Yoon's first time returning to the country. According to the investigation, he has entry records of 7 years ago. Before Jae-won can think this through, she receives a call from the housekeeper. The housekeeper needs to leave work early, but Jae-won's husband hasn't brought their daughter home yet, and the child may still be at kindergarten. Jae-won rushes to the kindergarten to pick up her daughter, but the teacher says the child didn't come to class today. Jae-won searches everywhere but can't find her husband and daughter. A neighbor tells Jae-won that she saw her husband having lunch with the daughter at noon. There was also a strange woman with them who seemed very close to her husband. Jae-won has a bad feeling and contacts her secretary to ask if her best friend is at the company. She receives a negative answer. That night, Jae-won returns home in a daze and sees her daughter already asleep in her room. Only then does she relax. She turns to demand answers from her husband about who he was with today. Her husband lies, claiming their daughter didn't want to go to school, so father and daughter spent the day out relaxing. Her husband thinks Jae-won is angry because she wasn't notified in time. Jae-won can no longer tolerate her husband's constant pretense of ignorance. Seeing that her husband refuses to tell the truth no matter what, Jae-won leaves home in disappointment. Just then, an old classmate calls Jae-won to remind her to attend the alumni reunion. Everyone gathers together, and even Jae-won's best friend arrived early. Unable to get the truth from her husband, Jae-won decides to confront her best friend directly. Suppressing her anger, Jae-won arrives at the reunion and immediately downs a drink, asking her best friend what secrets she's keeping from her. The best friend doesn't understand and gives no direct answer. Facing her fox-like best friend, Jae-won doesn't intend to save face. She publicly reveals that her best friend's ex-boyfriend is married, embarrassing her in front of old classmates, and insinuates that she's always been very interested in Jae-won's husband. The best friend assumes Jae-won is drunk and talking nonsense. In reality, she turns her face away, desperately hiding her complicated feelings. Unable to resolve the bitterness in her heart, Jae-won can only drink glass after glass of bitter wine. One day, Jae-won wakes up to a message from her husband, learning that a document was delivered to their home and placed in the study drawer. Just yesterday, Jae-won's husband watched the neighbor leave, then immediately changed into casual clothes, removed his watch, put on glasses, and furtively entered their study. He placed a document in the drawer, then left the house. When he encountered the neighbor returning from walking the dog, he didn't greet her and just kept walking forward. Jae-won finds the document and opens it to discover it's a copy of a property registration. The document shows that her stepfather, after receiving Jae-won's mother's insurance payout, spent the entire 500 million won to buy a house outright. Now he's subletting it to Jae-won's best friend under a full deposit rental agreement. Jae-won rushes to the entrance of the complex and sees her best friend passing by and entering the building. Even more shockingly, her husband also appears with their daughter and enters the same place. Jae-won once again confirms that her best friend and husband have both betrayed her. All her rationality is covered by pain. She floors the accelerator all the way, nearly hitting a pedestrian, but fortunately brakes in time at the last moment. Thinking that her happy family now belongs to someone else's as their family of 3, Jae-won is inconsolably heartbroken. End of episode 2. Don't forget like, comment, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. I will be back with the rest of the story soon.